You know, when you're dealing with a person who has narcissistic personality disorder, there's one survival skill that's absolutely crucial. It's the art of managing your own expectations. It might sound simple, but believe me, it's a huge shift that can literally save your emotional well-being. So let's break down what that actually means.
Have you ever been there? You're in a discussion, you've got your facts lined up, you're being logical, you're coming from a place of genuine goodwill, and you just walk away feeling completely exhausted and unheard. It feels like you're speaking a totally different language, right? Well, if that sounds familiar, this one's for you.
You see, the root of that frustration, it often starts before you even say a word. It all begins with a really fundamental and totally understandable but incorrect assumption that we make about the conversation itself. We're basically showing up to play chess, but the other person is playing a completely different game with their own set of rules.
And here's where that huge disconnect happens. We walk in hoping for a reasonable chat, some give and take, a sense of fairness. But what we're actually met with is a completely different agenda. On their side, it's about the need for control, a real lack of empathy for where you're coming from, and this constant drive to twist the story. So, bottom line, you're trying to find common ground, they're trying to win.
This is a really big deal to understand. We have to stop calling these things misunderstandings. It's not that they just didn't get what you were saying. What you're dealing with is a consistent, predictable pattern of behavior. And just recognizing that, seeing the pattern for what it is, that's the first real step to protecting yourself.
All right, so what is this pattern? What does it actually look like? Let me tell you, it is not random. It has these specific identifiable pieces that just repeat over and over again, and that creates a cycle that can feel almost impossible to escape. One of the biggest psychological traps here is something called affective selective memory. This is basically where our own minds work against us. We cling to those rare, tiny moments of kindness, a random compliment, a nice gesture, and we let those moments completely overshadow the constant pattern of negative stuff. We focus on the exception, not the rule, and it just fuels this false hope that things are finally going to change.
Here's a classic example of this in action. Let's say after a really nasty bout of verbal abuse, they suddenly cook a special dinner or buy you a gift. It feels like an apology, right? Like maybe they've finally seen the light. But more often than not, this isn't real change. It's a tactic. It's a strategic move to pull you back in, to manage your emotions, and to keep you hooked in the cycle.
And all these behaviors, they're not separate. They all feed into each other. The lack of empathy makes the constant manipulation possible. That manipulation leads to emotional exploitation. The need to control the story means they're never, ever wrong. And any kindness you see, it's usually strategic, not genuine. It's a closed loop, all designed to serve one person's needs.
So you might be thinking, okay, great. This sounds hopeless. If I can't change the pattern, what am I supposed to do? Well, this is where the game changer comes in. You have to make a pivot. You have to shift your focus completely away from trying to fix them, and you have to redirect all of that precious energy toward protecting yourself.
The source material gives this absolutely perfect analogy. Think of it like you're holding a cracked cup. You know it's weak. You know it could shatter at any second, so you don't hold it with the same careless confidence you'd hold a sturdy mug. You adjust your grip, you manage your expectations about what that cup can do. That right there, that is the mindset.
And I want to be crystal clear about this. This is not about resignation. It is not about just rolling over and accepting abuse. It's the opposite. It's an active, powerful strategy for self-preservation. You are consciously deciding to stop walking into the same wall over and over again by expecting a mature, empathetic response that you know, based on all the evidence, just isn't coming.
Okay, so theory is great, but how do we actually do this? How do we put it into practice? Let's get into some real-world, actionable strategies you can use to start building up your emotional defenses.
First things first, you've got to watch out for a really common trap called the normalization of the minimum. This is what happens when a situation has been so draining for so long that the bare minimum, like a single day without a major blow-up, starts to feel like a fantastic gift. We start thinking the absence of abuse is the same as the presence of health, and that just dangerously lowers our standards for what's acceptable.
So what's the game plan? Here it is. First, you have to define what's actually acceptable for you. What are your non-negotiables? Second, you have to assume their inconsistency is the rule, not the exception. Third, always have a plan B that doesn't rely on them coming through. And finally, number 4, anticipate how they might react when they start to feel that control slipping away. And listen, this isn't just about romantic relationships. Think about that unreliable coworker, the one. Instead of getting frustrated and angry again when they miss a deadline, you just operate under the assumption they're going to drop the ball. You build your own plan B. See what happened there? You managed the expectation, you dodged the frustration, and you took back control of the outcome.
Now, a little heads up, when you start doing this, you're changing the rules of the game, and a person who thrives on control is not going to like that. So be prepared. They might ramp up the drama, they might try to guilt trip you, they might even try to flip the script and blame you for everything. Knowing that this is a likely reaction makes it so much easier to stand your ground.
So, after all this really hard internal work, what's the prize? What do you get out of it? The result isn't some fairy tale ending where the relationship is suddenly perfect. No, the result is something way more valuable than that. It's your own emotional clarity. It's your peace of mind.
At the end of the day, this whole process is a profound act of emotional maturity and self-care. It's about you deciding to stop pouring your energy into a bucket with a hole in it. It's about taking that energy back for yourself, and maybe, just maybe, investing it in people and places where you actually get a healthy return.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple truth. You cannot change another person's deep-seated patterns. You just can't. But what you can do, what you have 100% control over, is how you respond and how you position yourself to stay safe. That is where your power is, and that's something no one can ever take from you. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Based on everything we've just talked about, what is one small, concrete action you can take, maybe even starting today, to begin aligning your expectations with reality in a tough situation?